I never seen iron ripped like that before, never. They just fold it up like a banana. You like peeling a banana. It was incredible.
Inside an unmarked hangar at JFK Airport in New York is a morgue. A morgue for beams and columns, for crushed vehicles, a morgue for steel. This is steel recovered from the World Trade Center. A 65-ton panel from the South Tower. A piece of the television antenna from the North Tower. Signs, flagpoles, sculptures. Some pieces, compressed by the fall, were cooked by smoldering fires for months. 4 stories of office building and its contents compacted into a 4-foot-thick meteorite. The last remnants of an American tragedy. Objects immovable except by the largest equipment, cut and hauled away by construction workers. The construction workers of New York City. The remaining steel from the World Trade Center awaits its final resting place. But the construction workers who waded into the mass of burning metal starting on September 11th, 2001, have moved on to other jobs, to new lives. They have had just enough time to reflect. Many still feel the pull back to the 16-acre site in Lower Manhattan, to the site that became known as Ground Zero. Thousands of people worked at Ground Zero. Many of them were firefighters and police officers. Their work was historic. The loss of life among their ranks was great. But most of the people working at Ground Zero were construction workers. They cleared hundreds of thousands of tons of steel, concrete, glass, hundreds of bodies, and thousands of body parts. The job was like nothing they had ever done. Most adjusted. Some never quite came back. None of them can forget. This is their story.
I remember that, the first body that I came in contact with, I thought, wow, here we go. We were passing this body down, and I'm watching the body coming out, and I'm thinking, here we go, man. This is only the first of a long road ahead of me. Construction workers, we're not geared up to recover dead people. That's not what we do,
Then somebody would say, like, listen, I heard something, and everything would stop. You feel like, they could hear somebody or that there's somebody alive down there or something like that. But, we never found anybody.
The fires burned for months and months and months. And depending on how the wind was blowing, it got quite bad. And then you had the worst after, say, 2 or 3 weeks was the smell. The smell of bodies decaying, trying to work around it. You know it's there. Long before you ever found a body, you knew it was there.
They put their faith in their work, whether it be Jewish, whether it be Muslim, whether it be Protestant, whether it be Catholic or Hindu or Buddhist. They put their faith in their work. I walked among each of them. The guy doing the drill on the ground, the guy who's the upper engineer, directing the crane, the iron worker doing the welding on the side, the carpenter putting the wood in different places. This was an orchestra. This was nature's blue-collar orchestra. all instruments coming together, playing the same music. Why? They were dedicated to rescue and recover.
Personally, I witnessed down there the very worst that man can do to man. But at the same time, even though all the death and all the destruction, at the same time, it's one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Original estimates were that the cleanup of the World Trade Center could take 18 months, cost $1.5 billion, and claim the lives of more than 100 construction workers. Instead, it took 9 months, cost half of what was estimated, and no one was killed or even seriously injured. Why? In part, it is because the people who cleaned up the World Trade Center were professionals. In many cases, the same professionals who built it. Since the early 20th century, New York City has been the world capital of skyscraper construction. The Woolworth Building, the Chrysler Building, the Empire State. Each had its day as the tallest building in the world. Each was surpassed. By the early 1960s, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey had a plan to build the tallest building in the world twice over. The World Trade Center would be twin towers, each 110 stories and 1,400 feet high. In 1967, the construction began. Willie Quinlan was an iron worker on the Trade Center job.
I started on the Trade Center in about 67, 68. I stayed there for almost 80 floors. We started out in the basement, and we put the cranes up. And then we, just kept building the floors, building floors, building floors. It was a very interesting job. For me, it was because I was working on the biggest building in the world at the time, and it was a great honor and a great feeling to do it. I learned a lot because when I went there was a lot of the old-timers, which were great. You know, they show you everything. You know, they made it much easier for you. You know, they showed you how to tie knots, how to splice, and you know, how to get around on the iron, how to use the hooks. You know, it was great. I learned a lot there, and I came a long way from there, you know.
That's like now he's the guy that's teaching me, you know? So it comes around full circle, yeah.
The skyscraper age also created an aura around those who erect the steel. Iron workers, men with the strength to connect 60-ton steel columns and the agility to do it balanced on a 12-inch wide beam, more than 1,000 feet in the air.
I like the challenge a lot of times. Like years ago, putting up buildings, we worked on guide rigs, and you know, it was a lot of manual work involved. But the challenge is still there, you know, when you're picking a piece of iron, really, a real heavy piece, and you're up 20 floors, 30 floors, whatever, and you're on the borderline with the piece, you know what I mean? You're right in your safety factor and everything, and you can't boom out too far past there. All that's a challenge, and it just gets you going, you know?
It's adrenaline. Yeah. Adrenaline, that's the word we're looking for.
Chris Pillai was orphaned at age 12. By the time he was 18, he was on his own and eventually made the ironworkers of Local 40 in New York his family.
We got a new foreman this week, yeah.
Yeah, how was
Tommy, he's all right.
Don't even look. I can't have any.
You just watch me and watch me go.
He would learn his craft from men like Willie Quinlan, who passed the trades down from generation to generation. As iron workers finished assembling the World Trade Center, no one could have known the fate of these bookend-shaped buildings. No one could have known that with the topping off of World Trade Center 2, the era of the super tall buildings had changed forever in New York. Just as World Trade II was nearing completion, an 18-year-old Irish carpenter named Hugh Smith was arriving in the United States.
I come over here to New York playing Irish football. I'm invited out here to play in New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. We came here in September of 1969.
Hugh and most of his team remained in New York. Hugh joined Carpenters Local 608.
I got in the union in 1972. I got sent down to the World Trade Center and sealants, doing sealants. The World Trade Center was just built, and that I was here for the topping off of 2 World Trade Center. To look up at the buildings, I mean, like, you know, I'd never seen nothing that high. And then a year later, to come down and actually work in them, and to get up and to look down from the top then, I mean, it was awesome. I went back home to Ireland, and I was telling people at home, and one guy that I met there, he worked on the Empire State Building, and he said, oh, he used to, years ago, like, you know, look out and he'd see the helicopters flying by. I said, we were in a building now and we looked down on the helicopters.
Hugh Smith worked in the World Trade Center for more than 25 years, surviving the 1993 bombing and reporting for work as usual on September 11th, 2001. Several of Hugh's carpenters were working at the top of the North Tower on a job at Cantor Fitzgerald. Hugh went across the street to 1 Liberty Plaza.
Out in the street, come down the street, and somebody said, the plane has hit the Trade Center. I could see the whole bunch of debris coming down. I didn't see the second plane, I heard it. I heard this noise coming, and we were just on Church Street and Liberty, and next thing, into 2 World Trade Center, the second plane. So we started to go down, and the cops pushed us away and said, no, get out of here.
Hugh was trying to get to the building to find his fellow carpenters on the top floors of the North Tower.
We turned on to West Street, and what we seen on West Street, I wasn't prepared for it. I don't think anybody was prepared for it. There was parts of bodies, parts all over the street. We got to the corner of Liberty and West, and I looked up, and for some reason I thought I seen the top of it move, of 2 World Trade Center. And then we heard the noise, and we seen the top, what we thought was the top coming off. We turned around and started to run. I fell, I went down, I slipped and fell. I got up, and I looked behind me, and all I seen was a cloud coming behind me. Gigantic cloud with a roar like a freight train. And it hit me, and it picked me, and it threw me, I think, across West Street. I ended up on the other side of West Street by the financial center, and I'd up against a fence. How long I was there, I don't know, but I mean, it's just like somebody turned out the lights. It got completely dark. I put up my hand to my face. I didn't know what happened. I put up my hand to my face, and I couldn't see it. I says, I'm blind. I thought maybe I was dead. I didn't know.
Hugh tried to find his way home to Brooklyn. In a daze, his shoulder injured from the fall, he went the wrong way, walking back toward the 1 remaining tower.
There was a police officer there, and I talked to him, and he says, he looked at me, he says, what, you were in it? I says, yeah, I was outside, but it came down on top of me. And just as said that, it came over the radio, the other tower is going.
I think we actually fainted when we saw the tower go down because we were just like, oh my God, this is it, it's over.
For like those few moments or hours, as it was, that you think that this person could just be gone from like your life. I mean, I didn't even know how I would continue to like go on. I didn't think I could.
Meanwhile, Hugh ran to the rubble, looking for his co-workers.
People were starting in digging or seeing what they could do. There's a lot of confusion. I mean, nobody ever experienced nothing like this. So I went back and I was spitting up and throwing up, and they told me the best thing I could do was get out of there. So I made it across the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, I kept looking back and all I could see was a cloud of smoke. I didn't know that the two of them had come down. So I made it down as far as the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, and that's the first phone I found that worked.
I absolutely was out of my mind, and I said, where are you, where are you? And he said, I'm really not sure, but I'm down by the tunnel. And I said, I'll come and get you right away. And he said, please, somebody just come. I want to come home.
I said I was going. I don't think I've ever driven quite so fast down 3rd Avenue. And when I got there, I was looking around for him because I was like, where could he be? And he was literally covered. I mean, head to toe, he looked like a dust bunny.
It was several days before Hugh would understand that the buildings he made his home were gone, that his fellow carpenters in the North Tower had perished, and that he was lucky to be alive.
I don't know, it wasn't, I mean, the way I look at it, wasn't my day. It wasn't my day to die.
But in the dust, smoke, and confusion of September 11th, he couldn't grasp it.
I went home and I sat down and, then they told me that both buildings was down. I said, no, that's not, it couldn't be. They couldn't fall. They couldn't fall.
As firefighters combed the site for survivors, construction workers all over New York City began walking off their jobs and heading for the place that was already being called Ground Zero.
People came down here, civilians, construction workers, emergency people. People just flocked out here. There was nobody came down here to be paid. We came down here, it was a rescue.
I guess what made me go down to make the call was after the initial shock was over, I realized that, there's many buildings laying there, and that's all iron that needed to be, picked up. I mean, in the beginning, first couple of weeks, it was, you were hoping to pull somebody was going to be found alive in there.
In Brooklyn, Hugh Smith had no sooner washed off the debris than he felt the pull to the Trade Center site.
I lay down, but I couldn't go to sleep. I kept thinking, of what had happened. It was going through my mind. I said I had to go back in. There's too many people. I mean, I knew a lot of people, an awful lot of people in there.
And I said, please, you survived 93, you survived this, please don't go back. Something else is bound to happen to you. No one can be that lucky.
I knew that he was going to go before he even said anything to me. And he left, and he said, I'm going to try to get in to help. I tend to, like, of course, imagine probably worse than what it was, but I mean, it was always there. Is there something going to go wrong?